Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. We are Columbia's hottest and fastest growing podcast, and we have a special guest for you today. Thanks for everyone that likes our stuff, that subscribes, that goes to our Instagram, and you share those or you comment on it. We see that. We appreciate that. And we have a special guest for you today. His name is Nathan Young. He's a certified life coach. He is certified from the Life Coach Institute. He's a retired veteran with 25 years of service as a lieutenant colonel. And he's married to Ashley Young. They have 2 children and a fur baby you have on here.
Yes.
And he's currently an active member of the military, the ministry of Brookland Baptist, Northeast Campus. And one of the things that I thought was really cool is you're a life coach, but you've got tons of years of experience. And I was talking a little bit with this beforehand, where I see all these life coaches coming up that are 22 years old or 24 years old, and they're saying they're a life coach and they want to have this. And I don't know if it's a status thing or what it is, but this idea that they want to help people, but they don't necessarily have the life experience. So when I was talking to you, you have all this life experience in the military. Now you're also in the military in another capacity at the state level. And then you're also raising a family and you've been married and all the different components of that. So maybe tell us a little bit about what got you into this and maybe a little bit about yourself too.
Okay. Thanks for having me. So, just as you said, with 25 years in the military, as a previous commander, I spent a lot of time coaching, counseling, mentoring my soldiers. They come in from all walks of life, all kinds of issues. And so you're trying to be the military guy because good order and discipline is what the military is built on. But you also have a family readiness group that are also dealing with the spouses, the families, et cetera. So you're trying to take it from a perspective of, Soldier Johnny, I need you to be here on time, but also I realize you just had a baby, et cetera, et cetera. So those types of conversations with the military, learning, growing, dealing with your soldiers, dealing with the life issues, being responsible. And then later on, that was as a commander. Then later on as, staff officers, I was worked for the general officer. I have been comptroller, finance. I've been logistics. So a lot of varied jobs in the military basically gave me a lot of life experiences as far as how to deal with people and understanding where they come from. So as me and Ashley started to discuss my retirement, the question came up about what was next. And so I really didn't have any ideas as far as what I wanted to do, just ready to take a break. And so she suggested the life coaching because she figured I would be good at it from the way I interact with people, the skills that I've had, the different positions I've been in and that type of thing. She was either teaching or coaching. I said, well, I'll try coaching out. So that's kind of how the life coaching thing came about, the idea.
And then just to clarify for anyone listening, so Ashley Young is your wife, and she's also been on the podcast in the past. And you guys own Everyday Wellness, which is a really unique type of it was set up as a counseling center, but it's also got yoga and massage and some other health and wellness type things, and the life coaching component as well. So a lot of people just look at it and they go there for counseling or therapy, but then there's all these other, what I would consider like alternative health components to it as well. And so how's it been fitting in there? Because I know there's a difference between a counselor, which is what your wife generally does, and then what a life coach is. So maybe walk us through that.
Absolutely. So when we started Everyday Wellness a couple years ago, it was a very small, intimate kind of setting. It was Ashley, another counselor, and then the massage therapy. And so over time, Ashley's idea was to have a holistic wellness approach, the mind, body, and spirit connection. And so as we started to more so work that, what does that look like? That's when we started the expansion part, trying to get in more counselors, more items for people to sell, to purchase. So again, it gets into the bath salts, all that types of stuff to help the person either come in and you can get a massage if you need one, rough day. You can talk to a counselor if you need to. You can get some life coaching there. You can also get some things that you can go home, some candles, bath salts, and all that kind of stuff to relax. So really her idea was to get a holistic approach to wellness to be able to provide that to the community.
Because when you think about going to a therapist, it's not always the most comforting situation or scenario, or it can be nerve-wracking.
Exactly.
But same with a life coach. So a person that's coming in to get life coaching, who is that person?
So all walks of life. So you have somebody that will come in, high school student. The parents want to get them on the right path, so to speak, with their grades, life path. Most of the college or high school kids may have a lot of influences, internet, social media. They see all these visions and they think, well, I want to be, I want to have the Escalade truck. I want to have the rims on. I want to do this and that. So, well, how you want to get there? I have no idea. So you have some of those folks that they come in, the parents just want to give them a little bit more of structure, more focused on where they're going with their life. So you have that. And then you have some of the 30 to 40-year-olds that have graduated college. They're out working. Now they're married. They have kids. Now they feel like the stuff that they wanted to do, they're not accomplishing that. And they're trying to get back on track, trying to get focused. So I have some of those. And then you have some older ones that are to the point where they maybe have retired. Now they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with myself now? And so we start having those conversations. So really with life coaching, it's from one end to the other, all walks of life, various issues, relationship, finances, starting businesses, don't know where to start. It just all varies.
Nice. You knew I was going to do that, right?
I know.
Like the longer I waited, the more it just built up, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm either my voice is gonna crack, or I'm gonna just." One, I like that you have gray in your beard. When it comes to life coaching, I feel like that's like you got the perfect look. Mm-hmm. And then hair regimen. How often are you keeping things high and tight? Because I mean, you look great.
Well, thank you. So it's a weekly thing for me.
Okay.
Ashley won't let me go full lumberjack, so I have to trim it. I got a little bit of that little beard juice kind of thing going on to kind of keep it soft, because they can't stick them when you're trying to hug and kiss on them. So I try to keep the hair low, the beard kind of low, and keep it all moisturized. And normally I'm okay.
And you got a local barber, right? You don't do that yourself.
Mm-hmm. Correct, local barber. So
Let's shout him out.
I do. Sonia Blade.
Nice.
So she's in the Northeast.
Okay.
And so she cuts my hair, does all of this. And my son, Isaiah, she keeps him high and tight because he likes that little mohawk deal. Yeah. And I don't, I can't do that.
Yep.
So she is awesome. She takes care of that.
Yeah. And I think so when they come in, talk me through after they look at your beard and they go, yep, this is the right place. What's like session one look like? Is it more goal setting and like kind of hearing what they want to get out of it? Or do you have some sort of formula where you want them thinking about, career or finance? Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Excellent question. So normally the first session is trying to just figure out who they are, because coaching is very, very individualized. So the first session, we kind of sit down, try to build some rapport. Who are you? What have you into? What do you want? Just kind of getting those general things. What are you interested in? Because I build a picture of who this person is. Yeah. And you kind of have to have that the first 10 to 15 minutes just to try to break the ice and get over that part. Yeah. So then you start moving into, okay, so what brings you in today? That kind of basic question. And it's like, well, I want to do this, or I want to stop doing that. And so as we kind of have a discussion about what does that look like, end result, like we were, sometimes the client wants to have behavior change. Like, I want to be healthy. Right. And that's different from an object of, I want to lose 10 pounds. Sure. So that kind of gives me an idea of where we're going. Is this going to be a couple very focused sessions to get you where you want to be, get you a game plan, get you a process, because I'm process mapping that military stuff? Or is this going to be long-term goal? And then now we build in the things along the way, your key performance indicators, so to speak. Yes. How do we build these things in on the way to your behavior change? So that first session really is building rapport, getting to know each other, trying to figure out generally where you want to go. And so the first session really is not really hard hitting. It's just kind of really just getting that piece of it in. And I tell them that up front. I say the first session, we'll get to know each other, and I give you some things to kind of get you in the ballpark, some homework. So then when they start coming back for session 2, now we really start to dig into what is it that you really want to do and refine that goal. Yeah. Because, one goal may be I want to lose weight. versus 3-4 sessions in, it is, I want to lose 10 pounds by this date. I'm going to track it by this on my
Right.
fitness app. I'm doing my calorie counting. I'm increasing. So by that 4th or 5th session, we got a plan to kind of get you to where you want to
Nice.
go.
So it's just basically like breaking into feasible steps and more clearly painting the picture
Exactly.
for them. Nice. Do you use anything like vision boards or affirmations or like tools like that where when you meet with them and they kind of start laying out what they want, are you big in them like having a project to create a vision board that they can look at or repetitively say, positive affirmations to themselves in the morning?
Understood. I don't do that part of it because as they come into the sessions, so I took a lot of time. I built like placemats with all my stuff on it to remember to do this or remember to do that. And what I find is you spend more time trying to make sure you hit the points and you miss a lot of that nuanced stuff that they say.
Right.
So for me, I may come into the session with a blank piece of paper. And because I'm a process map kind of guy, so we're talking and I have an idea, this is where you're going. I jot a few notes down. And as we're talking, I may draw a line over here and do this and then draw a line over there. And so by the time we get done with the session, I can go back through that map and walk through the things that we've talked about and where they need to go, because it'd be something that they said they wanted last session. Now they've said this session that's contradictory. So we need to focus on that, right? Where is it now you're starting to self-defeat with thoughts, or you're putting things in your environment, or the system we're trying to build, this one thing is not in alignment. And that's where I normally see that problem. So it's really organic in how it takes place. But I've found that the affirmations, they are very general most of the time. If you see it, you can achieve it kind of thing. But they don't really tell you how you're going to do any of that, right? So I try to take that types of stuff that if they say these things and I try to work on breaking all these things down for them. So they normally come to a session with a pen and paper kind of thing. So while we're talking and then before the end of the session, we really get into what I've noticed, what I've seen. This is what I want you to focus on going forward. And we wrap it up in the last 5 or 10 minutes with some homework. So I try to not come into the session with a predetermined kind of thing. I just let it happen. And then where we go, that's where I give them the direction at the end.
And I think it's interesting to look at therapy, which I know you've said is mostly looking at your past and how the issues or things that happened to you in the past, how they're affecting you right now. And then life coaching, which is more, this is what I want to achieve, or this is where I want to go. And these are the steps that I need to take from that. And I guess in my head, it always would go to like financial or health would be really the two. I guess relationships maybe would go in there too. But can you walk us through maybe an idea for, let's say a person's coming in, they're 28 years old, haven't found the love of their life and they're looking for the love of their life, or they're 28 years old, they thought that they were going to be a millionaire, but they're saddled with credit card debt and their car just broke down and they can't afford it or whatever. And those are the kind of the scenarios that I envision, but it could also be, I guess, the CEO of a company who's wants to double or triple his company and it's been stagnant for 3 or 4 years and he doesn't know how to grow or where to grow or who to hire. So can you just walk us through kind of what that would look like if that person walked in, how long it would probably take, how long sessions would be, and then where you would go from there once they hit that?
And so most of the sessions are 50-minute sessions, just across the board. If we need to go a little longer, that's completely fine. I don't mind that at all. Normal sessions are once a month. If we need to meet more than that, that's fine. If we need to meet a little less than that. So it really is individualized to the person just on the way the sessions work. Sometimes I have a client that we want to do once a month because of the financial, they pay for the sessions. And we may slip in a consult here and there over the system that, really is free. So that way I still can kind of keep my hands on them, so to speak, if they need some additional talk time. But to your example, so even the person that may walk in and hadn't found the love of their life and they're, down about it, or they're trying to really figure out what's wrong. So again, it's that general conversation about, okay, so what have you done up to this point? Well, I club and I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. So, okay, so if your previous history has taught us that clubbing is not working, what type of girl are you looking for, or a guy are you looking for? Well, quiet person, smart, etc. Okay, so are we going to find that person in the club, right? So generally, you kind of have to just walk through what they have done up to this point, marry that up with their expectations, and then try to kind of steer them in another direction. So, well, do you attend a church? Yes. Okay. Well, are you active in any ministries in the church? Do you know anyone? When they have events, do you go? Normally they have a singles ministry. Have you tried that? So really it's the things that they have that they do that they may not have explored, but their perception is they need to go over here and do something for what they've seen, TV, social media, their friends, et cetera, or dating apps, all these types of things. So really it's just trying to tailor it to the person to figure out what is going to help them that they already have access to. Generally, CEO of a company needing to expand or grow. Those are very difficult questions to kind of navigate through because most of the time, it's all about growth and sustainment. Everybody wants to grow, but you can't sustain what you currently have. So you kind of got to work through those questions too. Okay, looking at your current staffing. Do you have the people? Because if you're a one-person show, it's kind of difficult to have multiple locations and you're one person doing your accounting, your finance, your human resources, you're doing social media, marketing, and you got a family at home. It's like, so we're just trying to walk through like where you are versus where you're trying to go and just trying to break that down. So any scenario is literally like the same building blocks, where you're trying to go, where you are now, and then what's a roadmap. You take 77, you want to take 20, you want to take 26. How do we get to where you're trying to go?
Yeah. Have you ever encountered anyone that says they're at the mountaintop, that basically they can't get better at anything because they're already there?
No, I have never run across that.
We know somebody.
I've read it.
Yeah, we have. We do know somebody that that literally said that's amazing.
That is interesting.
Yeah, they couldn't use a life coach. Like it's like, oh yeah, I don't need one. I'm at the top of the mountain.
When I heard that, I married her.
I didn't know we were gonna let that loose. Allison,
bring that up.
She's at the top. When it comes to life, like and success, I guess, I tend to think that people compare their one avenue to like a person that is crushing that in that said avenue, but they're not looking at balance.
Understood.
Is that a big thing that you talk about? Like say somebody does want to be financially in a certain position, but then their marriage is a mess and their health is a mess. Do you try to rein people back and kind of more look at it from an aspect of like, okay, know that you want this, and they may already be pushing really hard in, let's just use finances, like they just a workaholic, but everything else is kind of crumbling, but they don't realize that they still just want to come to you and be like, hey, I want to make more money and work harder. Do you ever steer them to like, well, let's look at these other things? Because I've found like the people that actually that can get to balance, then everything continues to expand more rapidly than just even focusing on one area.
Exactly. And I've seen that a couple of times. And see, so that part is really, I try to steer them toward the alignment part, right? Of all of what they're really trying to do. How do all the other pieces align, right? So you may have one that owns a business and is trying to grow the business. But in that first session, generally as you're talking, like what's important to you? Well, family is important. Well, making sure that my kids are taken care of, making sure we do their college education, these things. So you just generally when they're talking, they tell you all this stuff. So then as you get into the session, okay, so what are you really trying to do? Well, I want to be a self-made millionaire. Like, okay, let's talk about that, right? And so really they're trying to focus on the financial part, trying to grow the business, trying to do all that stuff. And I say, okay, then you're listening, talking, having a conversation. So then it turns into, okay, well, what does your wife think about that? Well, she doesn't like that at all. I'm never at home. Okay. Right. So if your wife is not on board with your goal, I mean, does that help or hinder your motivation to continue these goals? Because what is your home life like? Just asking questions, probing questions, open-ended, just to kind of see where this conversation is going. So a couple sessions down the road, you kind of get into the part where they're discussing really the goal has been this way and it is impacting every other aspect of the life because it's out of alignment and it's out of balance. So then you just start having the conversation like, well, what's really important? Is it really the business part? Because if you're financially stable, taking care of the four walls, right? Are you going to have this other part crumble? And just trying to get them to realize, like you say, that it's not necessarily about this one particular thing, because the other parts are not taken care of.
Right.
And so, you'd have, I have other clients previously that may have things that were again, they're trying to, let's say, work a business, but the current financial situation is not the best. So again, when you start looking at taking care of the hierarchy of needs, taking care of yourself, your home, your needs are met, then you can start focusing on these other things, because starting that business is going to cost you money as well. Right. So if you currently can't take care of your normal day-to-day stuff, we may need to pause over here and solidify this part of it first, so you can get to that part great,
right,
better, build it, not have to worry about it, not have to struggle. So sometimes, again, it's just the mental picture needs a little bit come into focus a little bit more. But that balance thing is huge.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's people who look at you and just say like, nope, just want to be a millionaire. Like,
just want to be a millionaire.
Because I literally have people that come in, they're like, oh, I'm just so unhealthy and I really want to get healthy. And, like, and then I tell them something basic to do and they're like, no, not going to do that.
Absolutely.
Or they'll be like, no, they'll be like, oh, my muscles are cramping. Well, do you drink any water? No. All right, we'll start there. Nah, I was just hoping you could give me something different. Well, there's not really anything different. That's what you need. So that's what I'm going to tell you.
Exactly.
What happens then when they say, yeah, I want to double my business, but that's probably not the best thing for them. What they probably need to do is just maintain their business, figure out their relationships with their kids first, and then grow their business after.
That's right. And you're absolutely right. That'll be my perspective. And you may bring these things up, but you're absolutely right. They come back with, this is just what I want to do. Okay, well, we can explore that. So then we take that piece that they're wanting to do and we build it out, put the steps in here, do the entire process thing, and then you just kind of let that happen. And then, the next session, how is it? So tell me, how are things progressing since our last session? Well, it really didn't. Okay, well, what happened? Well, why do you think this happened? And then now it's, well, I really need to focus on this. Okay, so well, now let's get back into the fold and let's look at these other pieces. So normally a session or two down the road, it comes back to the thing without you having to force it or, beat them over the head about it. Because again, it's their session. These are the things that they are important to them. So you let that go and you focus on what they want to focus on. In the back of your mind, it probably will come back to that. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to get them to realize that balance is very important. Alignment is very important for them to get to where they're trying to go. So that mental block thing happens with a lot of people. Like, you can only see this one thing and this is what you're focused on, but you lose sight of all those other pieces, which is why they come to the coach in the first place. Something is wrong and they can't figure it out. And so normally we can see it, but we have to kind of help steer them toward that gently sometimes. And other clients, you just have to push them a little bit because it's just built based on their relationship.
Mm-hmm. And when it like habits, I imagine are a big thing that you work with people on, right? What I'm sure you have some book recommendations that I want you to mention at some point on like what would be good things for people that maybe are far listeners and can't come and see you guys, like what they should start reading and helping steer their life. But I've heard like with habits, the way to actually get good change is either the concept was like tether it to something or set a booby trap. Essentially, like tethering it to like for example, if I want to take supplements, I already brush my teeth every day, so I could tether taking supplements to that, where I just link it or set them next to my toothbrush. And then booby trap was like you put what you want to do in a place that you're gonna walk up, like go past it, so it triggers you to do it. So it might be like in our world, like spinal exercises is something that we try to encourage people to do. And sometimes they're just like, well, yeah, that's like in my closet. Well, you don't see it anywhere, right? But if you put it on your kitchen pantry door, the cervical traction, it's like, oh, every time you walk in your kitchen, you see it. And it's like, oh, let me do 5 to 10 of these right now. Yeah. Do you have anything like that, like habit tricks, or what sort of things have you taught when it comes to like seeing people change habits?
So absolutely right. Part of that is tethering is what we call habit stacking. So you're absolutely right. Personal examples for me, like I put my cell phone in my closet. Because if it's on the nightstand, I'm not getting up. I know that. Goes off at 5, I reach over, I hit it, and I roll back over.
Yep.
If it's in my closet, I have to get up, go, turn it off, and at that point, it's right next to the bathroom. I start getting ready. So that's a habit that I had to put in place just so I get up on time, so I can get my day started right. Then the stacking part comes in. You're absolutely right. So you have a thing that you're doing, you tie the next thing to it,
right,
and you continuously stack the habits on top of each other to eventually get where you want to be. So the last time I was in the session, I did my paperwork on the other location, and I told them I wanted to put on a few pounds, right, of muscle.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, I have my pull-up bar hooked onto my closet frame. So as I turn my phone off, I turn there and I do 10 or 15 knee tucks right there. So it also helps with my decompression.
Yes.
Right. And it helps me with my upper body strength. So all of that is tied right into just getting up in the morning before I even go in the bathroom and brush my teeth.
Ashley can't do a pull-up, can she? Just real quick.
She can.
Okay.
She can. She does not like to, but she can.
Okay.
She likes the planks more than pull-ups.
And I have a question about the cell phone thing, because I've tried that a few times when I wanted to start getting up early. Like I decided, all right, I'm going to start getting up early. And I would put it far away because I know that I would have to get up and get it. And then my wife would just be furious that my alarm's screaming at 5 a.m. across the basically across the entire room.
That's not perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Mountaintop.
So I started sleeping in more. I decided that wasn't a worthy goal.
Well, so it just depends on if you need to do something. The environment plays a part, and everybody in your environment also plays a part.
So does she have earplugs in, or does she just wake up at 5, or she just wakes up and then goes and then ignores it?
So with Ashley, when the alarm goes off at 5, she doesn't hear it. She's gotten to the point now it doesn't bother her at all, because I get to the point where I set 2. So the one on the nightstand is at 4:58, right? Because it wakes me up and I hit it and I roll back over, but I'm not asleep. So when the 5 o'clock goes off, I actually get up and now I'm up.
So that's the secret.
Nice.
Yes, that makes sense.
So again, you try something, you put it in place, and then you tweak it, right? And so that's what I learned. If it's in anything more than 2 minutes, I'm going back to sleep. But within that, I'm still kind of loose, trying to get comfortable. Then 5 o'clock, I'm like, just go ahead and get up. And I go and I do all my stuff, and I don't have a problem. Wow. But Ashley, she's knocked out.
That's what you want as a life coach that's getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. And is it just a habit that you've had from being in the military for so long? That's just what time you get up?
Well, it's partly. So we do get up early, and we do a lot of things in the morning before the normal day starts. But for me, I just have noticed I have more energy, more clarity, more focus in the morning. One of those books we talk about, trying to remember the name of it now, but it'll come to me later. It really talks about the things that you have to do that are important. You have to do them first. And that way, by the time the day starts, other people start calling, emailing, et cetera. The things that you had to do are already done. And so I kind of took that to heart and started getting the things that I know I needed to do done first before I get everybody else's stuff will come later, and I need to get mine done. So that's where the 5 o'clock for me comes from. I get up, do my exercises, I can get ready, get the clothes together, take the dog out. And at that point, I'm in my home office and I'm on my email, whatever I need to do for the business stuff. I watch the news, eat my bowl of cereal. And at that point now, when everybody else starts to move, I'm good for the day. I've taken care of my priorities and I just keep moving.
That's good. And I know Tom talked about book recommendations. You've mentioned Relentless to me. I'm sure being in the finance world in the military, you've got some finance ones too. What would be your top book recommendations for someone listening?
So Total Money Makeover, right? Because we get into the finance part. Dave Ramsey.
Yep.
I mean, it is awesome because to me, it is built on the systems. It's a common sense approach for somebody who's been a millionaire, bankrupt, and millionaire again is now trying to teach the simple biblical based principles about how to get your money together. I just think that's awesome. I could not recommend that enough.
And he has actually a new book out called Baby Steps Millionaire, because I did the Total Money Makeover a long time ago, but this Baby Steps Millionaire was pretty new. And I was like, I've kind of learned it all, but I'm going to listen to it again. And he has a whole entire thing on there about how to give an allowance to your kid and how not to give an allowance to your kid. And it was such a fascinating thing because we just hit the age with our kids where they want money and they want an allowance.
They understand it.
But I heard so many differing things. I didn't know what to do. And he walked through exactly how he gave an allowance to his kids and why he thinks he should do it that way. So I'd recommend for sure Total Money Makeover and even that Baby Steps Millionaire, I think is what it's called.
And Chris Hogan wrote one, Everyday Millionaire, which was actually pretty good too. I recommend any of those. Again, comptroller background, finance background. It's just a great book.
Which is wild. Well, can you touch on that book a little bit? Because I read it too, but it was pretty fascinating. And it was similar to the book The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley, I think his name was, from 40 years ago. And this is kind of the new and improved version of that where they studied all these millionaires. But what were some takeaways from that?
And so absolutely right. So again, the book years ago, I think they had a study, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 millionaires. They kind of studied their habits. The new one, they've had thousands of first-time millionaires in the United States. So they did a study of these first-time millionaires to ask them those basic questions. How did you get here? What does this look like? What tips would you have for other people? So a lot of the book is basically on the statistics. The majority of these brand new millionaires in the United States did not come from money, didn't come from Ivy League schools. Most of these folks were normal, everyday people. The top three, I think, was architect, engineer, and teacher. Brand new top three millionaires in the United States. I was like, teachers, the one they call
right.
It's like, because, and then he kind of talked about the fact of the way they work and organize themselves. They are used to doing more with less, saving, maximizing what they actually have, and then giving to others, pouring into them. So he just went through this, the way they go about their setting up their lives, which was, like I say, just very, very interesting to me. And most of these folks are 401k millionaires. Budget, living below their means, contributing to the 401k, maxing that out, and then just literally just living below their means over this period of time, paid off the house early, maxed out 401ks, and millionaires. And they still clip coupons.
Sure.
It's just a way of life. It just caught me so by surprise.
Which is funny because you'll see millionaires clipping coupons and people that are dead broke paying full price, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it for them to go back in the house and get a coupon.
Exactly. And so it was interesting when I was mobilized to Iraq in 2006. I had a commander, Colonel Jim Greasy. He was the guy, brigade commander, and he and I would also walk to the little shopette that we have in Iraq, and we had a dining facility where we all ate, because we worked 12 plus hours every day for one day off a month. So we were always in the office together, always having these conversations. So he and I would just take a walk and say, hey, I need to go get some shaving cream or something, walk with me. We just walk. And because he was right at 60 years old, I think at the time, getting ready to retire as soon as we got back. And I was a young lieutenant. So I guess he was mentoring me. And so we would walk and we would see the other soldiers coming on base. And you'd have Popeyes, Burger King, all this American stuff or fast food places in Iraq, right? And so he told me one day, he said, Nate, just look around. And so I looked and he said, okay. He said, now you'll notice that all these people, soldiers that are buying food, you write full price, all this stuff overseas. He said, most of these are the lower ranking soldiers. I was like, I just never paid attention to it. So they're spending money to buy food. And he was like, the dining facility, you eat all you want, free ice cream, free everything is literally around the corner. But they would rather buy food than be fed. I eat 4 times a day, right? And so it was just eye-opening experience to look at. To your point, some people will spend all they have versus just literally walking around the corner, walking in the dining hall and eating until 2-3 plates until they're full and walk out. But they'd rather pay for a Whopper combo. Yeah. It just didn't make sense, but it's habits and what people do. But, it's one of those things, you put things, again, in place to keep you from your goal. You do that to yourself.
I'm curious about Iraq too, how long you were there and what it was like mentally being there and then coming back too.
Well, yeah. So Iraq, very hot, dry. It's like So here it could be 90 degrees in humidity and you're sweating buckets. Over there it could be 120 degrees and you dry as a bone, right? It's just a different type of heat. So the sand, heat, there are some people, well, at that point in time, there were some third country nationals is what we call them, because the government tries to utilize contractors there to get services done for cooking, laundry, all that types of stuff. So you interact with a lot of local people without having to go out of the gate.
Yeah.
So we did go out on missions, helicopter missions, all that kind of stuff. But interacting with the people, our interpreters obviously are from the Iraq area. So you interact with them. They show you pictures of their families. Most Iraqis wanted to have a decent life just like anybody else. They just happen to be in Iraq and they happen to have dictators. So general population, just like any other person, you just had some that were just very, very hardcore insurgents. And we found out a lot of them were not even from Iraq, the people we were fighting. They were coming in from other countries because they were the money part of it,
right,
getting paid. Wow. So being in Iraq away from home for a year was a difficult thing. Natasha, my daughter, was here, so I didn't want to leave her. But it did change my outlook on life a good bit. So I realized, because the first day we got into Iraq, we left South Carolina, went to Oklahoma for training. We flew out of Fort Hood in Texas into Kuwait. We were in Kuwait for a week or two, then into Iraq. First night in Iraq, there was a car bomb at the gate.
Jeez.
First night. And at that point, I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I've trained. I've been to school.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'm a soldier. I'm like, but first night, get in the bed, and 20 minutes later, there's a bomb at the gate.
That's wild. So
at that point, your thought process had changed a little bit. Like, what's really important? And that was the family aspect, getting home to my daughter. So Iraq changed me for the better, I think.
What if somebody wants to be a life coach? What advice do you have for them? Like, what should they start doing to pursue that pathway?
Understood. First part, they need to like people,
Yeah.
because it's not about the millionaire making the money. It's really about connecting with people. So if your personality is not one where you can sit down, have a conversation, and really put yourself in the other person's shoes, it may not be what you want to do, right? Just based on what you're doing. Because as we were kind of talking a little bit earlier, as a life coach, you have to be a fan of your client. So when your client comes in, I've already reviewed the notes from last session. I've gone all the way back to the beginning again. So when things pop up, well, when we initially sat down and talked, you told me this, and this was, and now we're talking something different. What changed? You don't get that if you're running from client to client and not a fan of your clients that when they're coming in. So understanding people, sitting down, trying to figure out who they are, what makes them tick, where they're going, why these things are important to them, and trying to help them put all this together. So I'd say, to me, it's really important to be a little process driven, because you kind of have to understand things fall in natural orders if you're going to help your clients create goals, create processes, create systems for themselves so that way they can prosper. But really that people part is just huge, being able to listen.
You got to be real empathetic. It feels like, because sometimes like people will say stuff and I just go right into like solve the problem mode. So I would be terrible. But yeah, I think that's a big thing, is the putting yourself in their shoes and really feeling what they're going through and what the next steps are.
Yeah, I got that from Ashley, actually, because I was the same way. After we got married, I would come home and she would tell me about her day. I would do the exact same thing, go right into understand this, and this. Well, this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
and she'd be mad. So I'm like, you mad at me? You trying to help
I'm solving your problems right now. What do you mean?
What's wrong? And so what I realized was at some point, she would just want to explain it and talk it out. She didn't want my advice. And so I had to kind of start listening for the cues. So when she started talking, to say, so you want me to give you advice? Is this you want me to solve it, or you want me to listen? I started asking that question up front. So I just want you to listen. Okay. whatever
That's-
happens, it happens. I'm just listening at that point.
Because I was going to ask, like, what do you do? Like, when they start talking and they're telling you all this stuff, like, do you just, like, 'cause I'm just thinking about myself, like, okay, if I just listen, like, I just sit there and stare at you and listen, and then I don't know what to respond after they're done telling me everything. You know what I mean? Because my response is going to be, it's going to be like,
Real short to the point.
yes,
like, fix it,
yes.
like,
So,
next.
is there a canned response that we could just be like, oh, yeah, like maybe it's like, sorry to hear that. Anything I can do,
So,
or something, 'cause I need a script.
So if there's anything canned response, I would say if as you're listening, something is going to not sound right, and just say, "Tell me more about that." Right?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because at that point you get a little bit deeper into whatever it is, and then that may give you the thing that comes next. So just something. Just tell me more about that.
Yep. Okay, nice.
But I think that's probably like a fairly universal thing, because I'm sitting here thinking like, so, and in that scenario, like you're not actually telling them the very basic solution. You're just,
Well, and what's wild is you may have the solution and you still can't tell them it.
Absolutely.
That's what's great. That's what I always think.
You're right. Because as you're listening, it's like 1 + 1 is 2, right? But see, that's in my mind.
But it's
right. And so again, with the person you're dealing with, the client, you're trying to get them to see that. So you're trying to walk.
They got to come up with the answer. Yeah.
You're trying to actually make them see how it works for them.
Right.
So again, my 1 + 1 may be 2. Their 4 - 2 may be 2. So their perspective on it may be different. We still may have the same answer, but they just may have a totally different way about getting there.
That's good.
and what about, so this is kind of on the same point, but a slightly different thing. Let's say that they're telling you something that you don't care about, but you know it matters to them.
We're getting coaching. We need this. We need this.
So back to what we were saying earlier, right? It's all about the client. So whatever they're interested in, you have to be interested in. Yeah,
I don't care about this at all. Oh, good. Thanks for telling me. I just didn't care at all.
Well, no. All right. To clarify that though, it would be like if somebody said like, which color of red do you want? And they all look identical to me, and I couldn't care less between 19 different shades of red.
Right.
Sometimes I don't know. I don't know the right way to say it, or maybe there is no right way to say it.
That's what's tough.
Or I've tried it a couple ways. I've tried it where I just pick one and say like, oh, I love that shade. Lord. And then I've tried the other one where I said like, I just don't care. And then I've tried the other one. I said, well, what do you like? And then just agree with that person.
So I would say there, like you have 19 shades of red, and the question comes of which one do you like? You say, well, I don't know the difference between them. Can you explain it to me?
Yes.
So now
that's good.
You're getting the input, because the person asking you the question, obviously they see a
the
difference
difference
between these 19 shades of red. Well, this one may look good in the morning. This one right here reminds me of summer. This one right here is a little bit more pinkish, and this one makes me sad when I look at it. So you kind of get that. So now you got context to the question.
Ashley's just a lucky woman. I mean, we just need to call Nate. Hold on 1 second. Nate, here's the scenario.
Hey God, I'm going to record this for my coaching session later with Nate.
Yeah, and actually, like now it's Christmas card season. Like I've been getting a lot of those questions of like, what card is this? And like, who do you think? And I'm like, I'm not sure who wants a Christmas card. So I'm not sure what they would care what they look like, kind of thing.
I got.
So yeah, bad. So with Everyday Wellness, which your initials are EW, which I told Ashley that means EU.
I figured.
And but what do you guys see in the future? Like, what's next steps? What are some things or opportunities that you guys are heading down in the next, 5-10 years?
Okay, well, good. So right now, so you remember we were in a little smaller space. And so we just finished the expansion into a larger space. So we went from 2 clinical offices, 1 massage parlor, to like 7 offices and a massage. So we've tripled the space. Nice. So we're just trying to get more counselors in so we can provide more services to the community. Down the road, we're looking at following some of your footsteps as far as expansion into other offices.
Oh, nice.
So we may not be in the Columbia area, but maybe a Greenville, Charleston, or maybe some of the, like in Orangeburg, Newberry, where she's from. So we're kicking those ideas around now to doing satellites. And so we're trying to look at how does the staff work? Can you have a one person here for a couple of clinicians, remote places here? So that way your admin staff in Columbia could be the main hub managing all this stuff. So we're now looking into how do we expand in satellite spaces.
We need to put a little counselor in our Brickyard location.
This is actually a recruiting podcast.
Yep.
In case we didn't tell you.
Yep. Well, awesome. Like now, are you from here? You're from Columbia?
From Abbeville, about 2 hours from here.
And Ashley's from Newberry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys like about Columbia? Like, do you guys see yourself here long term? Is this kind of your home now?
Yes, we do. So we're on the northeast side.
Yep.
Which
the good side.
So 10 years ago, well, in 2010, when we actually moved out there, it was very small. Well, it was smaller, right, type of community.
Yeah.
So, but since then, it has just grown. I think it grows 5-6% a year. So it's blowing up. Now you got another Sand Hills out there. The car dealerships are going up. The hospitals out there now, extension. I mean, it just, but what we liked about Blythewood was that it was a little further out. It's still kind of quiet. But what we like about the Columbia area, I mean, it's central to just about everything.
Right.
So downtown Columbia, Ashley likes to go out, have some good food.
She likes to club, as we like to say.
So she likes to hang out. So she likes the downtown. Again, while the office is, right there off of Gervais Street. So she likes being in the middle, being able to walk and get food, ice cream, which is her thing, sweets and snacks and all that kind of stuff. So we just really like the family atmosphere that's here. We were like Greenville as well with their downtown. Because I got family all in the upstate, so we go visit them. But Columbia is home, and so it's the family feel, very connected, feel very safe.
Yes.
Right. We know there's stuff going on everywhere, but I don't feel walking the streets, I don't feel like I'm going to get attacked or mugged or stuff like that. So I really like the family, the safety, just the ambiance of Columbia. I mean, it's great.
Are you still connected with Fort Jackson at all, or you like the idea I like the idea that there's military here?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So between we have multiple, you're right, bases here. You got Shaw, which is not too far down the road. The Air Force Base. You got Fort Jackson here. A number of National Guard bases. Joint National Guard bases. So, I mean, the military community is huge, huge in this area. Even in my neighborhood, the guy was across the street, was a contractor with Raytheon in the military. The one beside him retired at Fort Jackson in the finance community. My neighbor that just moved, he retired from Fort Jackson. The guy on the corner is in Fort Jackson. Going the other way, his son is in the Navy. The son stays in the neighborhood too. Drill sergeants, just in my neighborhood. Yeah. So if you come in my neighborhood acting up, there's no telling what you'll find because it's military literally in the entire neighborhood. And that's in Northeast in Blythewood. So, but it's so much of a military presence here. And Columbia loves the military. When I was still in uniform, I can't remember how many times I actually paid for a meal.
Really? That's awesome.
I didn't look for it, but it was so great.
No, that's awesome.
But yeah, people all over the place. I mean, thank you for your service. And then I'm waiting on the ticket. I talked to the waitress, so it's so-and-so paid for it. I'm like, what, next time they come in, tell them thank you. I mean, they didn't tell me anything. They just paid my ticket and left.
That's cool.
So Columbia's great.
And then anyone who wants to come see you. So there's probably people sitting here listening like, all right, I got to see him or I got a consultation. Mm-hmm. Do they just call the office? They go to Everyday Wellness, call the office, say that they want to make an appointment with you.
Yeah.
And then you said that 50% are virtual, 50% are in person. But if they're in the Columbia area, you generally want them to be in person.
Yeah, they come on in and we can actually sit down. Again, it helps with building that rapport. So we actually have a conversation, get comfortable, water, coffee, snacks, whatever it is, and we sit down and have a conversation. So yeah, if you're in the Columbia area, I would, at least the first session or two, come in, have a conversation. Let's sit down and kind of work through some things. But after that, if you want to go to virtual only, which is completely fine, very easy setup. We're in Simple Practice, the system. Literally, we set your appointment. It sends you a reminder the day before, and then 15 minutes before the session, I think you get another reminder. You hit the button, join. and we're talking. I mean, it's literally you can do it all on your phone.
Yeah.
The telehealth has been a upside from COVID.
Yeah.
Telehealth has been a lot more accessible.
Cool.
Especially
And
with
you guys
the
work
insurance
with
companies.
kids too, which is cool. Like I know my son's been with Janelle for a while and doing some of the online stuff too, which is really good.
Oh yeah. Kids, all walks, kids, teenagers, the Silver Saints, what Janelle calls them, the older.
The older. I was like, oh, Silver Saints. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, Janelle's got a lot of sayings that she uses. The Silver Saints is, I think, my favorite. So she's great. So yeah, the practice, if they want to go to, I think it's info at Everyday Wellness. We're on. I think we'll post the Facebook.
Yeah,
Instagram,
we'll tag all that.
all that kind of stuff. So really, just click on it, or I think we'll put the office number up there too.
Yep.
But they call in and say, hey, I'm interested in coaching, and then Peyton, our admin specialist, she gets you hooked right up, get you plugged in on the calendar.
And I saw you made it on was it Turquoise Tanks Inc. I think was it on Instagram, where he was in a tank top matching his wife?
Yeah.
Does your wife pack your clothes? No, it was a really good write up about you in a tank top. And I forget the handle, but I think it was like Turquoise Tanks or Surreal Estate or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So we try, especially when we vacation, to do little quirky stuff like that. So colors.
Does she pack them for you, or do you guys sit there together and pick out, we're gonna wear red on Friday?
So we kind of worked that out together because we knew what her colors were, and then my stuff was purchased to match her colors.
That's
And so
great.
at that point, we packed it all to make sure I didn't leave my colors at that.
That's amazing.
And she likes, I think she actually mentioned too, she likes it when you wear a tank top underneath your shirt because of the lines. Yeah. Which I've started doing that a little more.
Just in case Allison likes it.
Yeah. I don't know if she does or not, but I like it.
It doesn't hurt.
All right, everybody, go check them out. Go check out Everyday Wellness. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next time.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.